The morning sun cast long shadows across the Naval Special Warfare Command base as Petty Officer Second Class Maria Santos adjusted her uniform for the third time. Her hands trembled slightly as she smoothed the creases on her freshly pressed Navy working uniform Type 3. Today marked her first day at what many considered the most prestigious military installation on the West Coast, and she had been assigned to gate duty. Maria had dreamed of this moment for years, but not quite like this. Growing up in a small town in Texas, she had watched her older brother deploy multiple times with the Army Rangers. His stories of brotherhood, honor, and serving something greater than himself had ignited a fire in her soul. When he was killed in action during his fourth deployment, that fire transformed into an unshakable determination to continue his legacy of service. The path hadn't been easy. As one of only a handful of women in her rate, Maria had faced skepticism, harassment, and countless obstacles. Some questioned whether she belonged in the military at all, let alone at a special operations facility. But she had proven herself time and again through sheer determination and an unwavering commitment to excellence. Her assignment to gate duty at the SEAL compound wasn't exactly what she had envisioned. Maria had volunteered for every challenging assignment available, completed additional training programs, and maintained exemplary performance evaluations. She had hoped for a role that would put her specialized intelligence analysis skills to better use. Instead, she found herself checking identification cards and monitoring vehicle access. The base was already bustling with activity by 0600 hours. Maria had arrived 30 minutes early, wanting to familiarize herself with the gate procedures and make a good first impression. The previous night, she had studied the security protocols until she could recite them backwards. She knew the names of key personnel, understood the classification levels for different areas of the base, and had memorized the emergency procedures. Chief Petty Officer Rodriguez, her supervisor, was a weathered veteran with 22 years of service. He had initially seemed skeptical about having a woman assigned to his gate security team, but Maria's professionalism during their brief orientation had begun to change his perspective. "Santos, you're on the main gate today," Rodriguez informed her as they conducted the morning briefing. "Peak traffic hits around 0630 and again at 1700. These SEALs and support personnel don't have time for delays, so keep the line moving efficiently while maintaining security protocols." Maria nodded, understanding the delicate balance required. Security couldn't be compromised, but unnecessary delays would quickly earn her a reputation as an obstacle rather than a professional doing her job. She had observed enough military culture to know that respect was earned through competence and reliability. The first few hours passed smoothly. Maria checked hundreds of identification cards, verified vehicle registrations, and maintained detailed logs as required. She treated each person with the same level of professional courtesy, regardless of rank or position. Several junior enlisted personnel seemed surprised by her thorough but efficient approach, clearly accustomed to more casual treatment at other installations. Around 0800 hours, a convoy of black SUVs approached the gate. Maria could see through the windshield that the vehicles contained high-ranking officers based on their bearing and the way support personnel snapped to attention. This was clearly an important arrival, and Maria felt her heart rate increase slightly. The lead vehicle stopped at her position, and Maria approached with confident professionalism. The driver rolled down his window, revealing a Navy captain with an impressive array of ribbons on his chest. Maria had studied military decorations extensively and recognized several combat awards and commendation medals. "Good morning, sir," Maria said crisply, standing at attention. "May I see your identification and vehicle registration, please?" The captain looked momentarily surprised. Most gate guards recognized senior officers and expedited their entry without following complete protocols. But Maria was determined to treat everyone equally and follow procedures exactly as written. "Here you go, petty officer," the captain replied, handing over his credentials. Maria noticed he didn't seem irritated by her request, merely curious about her thorough approach. As Maria examined the identification, she noticed something that made her pause. The captain's ID showed an expiration date that had passed 2 days earlier. According to regulations, she was required to deny entry and direct him to the administration office to renew his credentials. This was exactly the kind of situation Maria had hoped to avoid on her first day. Denying entry to a senior officer could have serious consequences for her career, but failing to follow security protocols could have even worse implications. She took a deep breath and made her decision. "Sir, I notice your identification has expired," Maria said respectfully but firmly. "According to base security regulations, I need to direct you to the administration building to renew your credentials before I can authorize entry." The captain's eyebrows raised, and Maria could feel the tension in the air. The other passengers in the convoy were undoubtedly wondering why they had stopped. Several enlisted personnel from nearby areas had noticed the delay and were watching the interaction with interest. "Petty Officer Santos," the captain said, reading her name tape, "I'm Captain Morrison, and I'm late for a critical briefing with the base commander. Surely we can make an exception in this case." Maria felt sweat beading on her forehead despite the cool morning air. Every instinct told her to apologize and wave the convoy through. But something deeper, a voice that sounded remarkably like her deceased brother's, reminded her that integrity meant doing the right thing even when it was difficult. "Sir, I understand the urgency of your situation," Maria replied, maintaining her professional composure. "However, security protocols exist for everyone's protection, and I don't have the authority to make exceptions. The administration building opens at 0800, so you should be able to resolve this quickly." Captain Morrison studied Maria for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Maria prepared herself for an explosion of anger or a threat to her career. Instead, something unexpected happened. "You know what, Petty Officer Santos," the captain said with what might have been the beginning of a smile. "You're absolutely right. Security protocols exist for a reason, and everyone should follow them regardless of rank." He turned to his driver. "Take us to administration first. We'll get this sorted out properly." As the convoy pulled away, Maria felt a mixture of relief and anxiety. She had done the right thing, but she couldn't help wondering what consequences might follow. Word of her decision would undoubtedly spread throughout the base within hours. Chief Rodriguez appeared at her side about 10 minutes later, his expression stern. "Santos, I just got a call about an incident with Captain Morrison's convoy." "Want to tell me what happened?" Maria straightened her shoulders and provided a clear, factual account of the interaction. She emphasized her adherence to established protocols and her respectful treatment of the captain throughout the encounter. Rodriguez listened without interruption, nodding occasionally. When Maria finished, he was quiet for a moment before responding. "You know, Santos, in 22 years of military service, I've seen a lot of people bend rules for officers, especially senior ones. Most of the time, nothing bad happens, and everyone pretends the shortcuts don't matter. But every once in a while, those shortcuts create vulnerabilities that our enemies can exploit." He paused, looking toward the administration building where Captain Morrison was presumably renewing his credentials. "What you did took guts," Rodriguez continued. "It also showed the kind of attention to detail and commitment to standards that this base requires. I'm proud to have you on my team." Maria felt a wave of relief and gratitude wash over her. Having her supervisor's support meant everything, especially on her first day in such a high-profile assignment. The rest of the morning passed without incident, but Maria noticed that word of her interaction with Captain Morrison had indeed spread. Some of the looks she received seemed approving, while others appeared skeptical or even hostile. She understood that her actions would be judged differently by different people, depending on their own perspectives on military hierarchy and protocol adherence. Around 1030 hours, Maria observed an interesting development. A group of Navy SEALs was conducting what appeared to be an informal discussion near the base's main administrative building. She couldn't hear their conversation, but their body language suggested they were engaged in a serious discussion about something important. One of the SEALs, a tall man with the bearing of a senior enlisted leader, glanced in her direction several times during the conversation. Maria tried to focus on her duties while remaining aware of the attention she seemed to be attracting. At 1100 hours, Chief Rodriguez informed Maria that she was being temporarily reassigned to assist with a security briefing in the main conference room. This was unusual for gate duty personnel, and Maria wondered if it was connected to the morning's incident with Captain Morrison. The conference room was filled with personnel from various units, including several SEAL teams, intelligence specialists, and administrative staff. Maria was directed to a seat near the back, where she could observe the proceedings without being prominently visible. The briefing covered recent security updates, changes to base protocols, and upcoming training exercises. Maria listened intently, taking mental notes about procedures that might affect her gate duties. She was particularly interested in discussions about new identification verification technologies and enhanced screening procedures for visitors. Midway through the briefing, Captain Morrison entered the room. He had apparently resolved his identification issue and looked considerably more relaxed than he had at the gate earlier. Maria tensed slightly, wondering if he would mention their interaction or express displeasure with her adherence to protocols. Instead, Captain Morrison took his seat without acknowledging her presence. The briefing continued with discussions of operational security measures and the importance of maintaining vigilance against potential threats. Near the end of the session, the base commander, a Navy captain with an impressive combat record, made some closing remarks that caught Maria's attention. "I want to emphasize the critical importance of maintaining our security standards," the commander said. "Every person on this base, regardless of rank or position, has a responsibility to follow established protocols. These procedures exist to protect our personnel, our operations, and our national security interests." He paused, scanning the room before continuing. "This morning, I was reminded that integrity and professional courage sometimes require us to make difficult decisions." A young petty officer demonstrated exactly the kind of commitment to standards that makes this base successful. She followed proper procedures even when it would have been easier to make exceptions. Maria felt her cheeks flush as she realized the commander was referring to her interaction with Captain Morrison. Several people in the room turned to look at her, and she tried to maintain her composure while feeling increasingly self-conscious. "This is the standard I expect from all of you," the commander concluded. "Excellence in small things leads to excellence in large things. Attention to detail in routine procedures translates to effectiveness in critical operations." As the briefing concluded and personnel began filing out of the room, Maria remained seated, unsure of proper protocol for her departure. Captain Morrison approached her position, and Maria immediately stood at attention. "Petty Officer Santos," Captain Morrison said, "I wanted to personally thank you for your professionalism this morning. You did exactly what you were trained to do, and you did it with respect and courtesy. That's the kind of leadership this Navy needs." Maria felt a surge of pride and gratitude. "Thank you, sir. I was just following established procedures." "Yes, you were," Morrison agreed. "And that's exactly why your actions were commendable. Anyone can follow rules when it's convenient. It takes character to follow them when it's difficult." As Captain Morrison departed, Maria reflected on the unexpected turns her first day had taken. She had been prepared for routine gate duty, not for a situation that would test her resolve and potentially define her reputation on the base. The afternoon shift brought new challenges and opportunities. Word of Maria's morning encounter had continued to spread, and she noticed that personnel approaching the gates seemed to be paying closer attention to her procedures. Some appeared to be testing her resolve by presenting questionable documents or making unusual requests. Maria handled each situation with the same professional standards she had applied to Captain Morrison. She was polite but firm, thorough but efficient, and consistently fair in her treatment of all personnel regardless of rank or position. Around 1,500 hours, an unmarked vehicle approached the gate with tinted windows and no visible military markings. Maria's training had emphasized the importance of treating such vehicles with heightened scrutiny, as they could represent either high-level security operations or potential threats. The driver rolled down his window, revealing a man in civilian clothes with no visible identification or military bearing. This immediately raised red flags for Maria, who had been taught to be suspicious of anyone attempting to access the base without proper credentials. "I'm here for a meeting with Commander Phillips," the man said, offering no identification or additional information. Maria's training kicked in immediately. "Sir, I'll need to see identification and documentation for your visit before I can grant access to the base." The man seemed irritated by the request. "Look, this is a sensitive matter. I don't have time for extensive paperwork. Just call Commander Phillips and verify my appointment." Maria recognized this as a potential social engineering attempt, where someone might try to gain unauthorized access by claiming urgent business or attempting to pressure gate guards into shortcuts. Her response was immediate and professional. "Sir, all visitors to this installation must present proper identification and have advance authorization for their visits. I can direct you to the Visitor Processing Center where you can obtain the necessary credentials." The man's irritation became more apparent. "This is ridiculous. I've been visiting this base for years, and I've never had to deal with this level of bureaucracy." Maria remained calm but firm. "Sir, security procedures are updated regularly to ensure the protection of all personnel and operations. I'm required to follow current protocols for all visitors without exception." The standoff continued for several more minutes, with the man becoming increasingly frustrated and Maria maintaining her professional standards. Eventually, Chief Rodriguez appeared to assess the situation, having been alerted by Maria's radio call for supervisor assistance. After a brief discussion with both parties, Rodriguez confirmed that the visitor did not have proper authorization for base access and directed him to the appropriate offices for credential processing. The man departed with obvious displeasure, but Maria had successfully protected base security. "Outstanding job, Santos," Rodriguez told her after the incident. "That's exactly how these situations should be handled. You maintained professionalism while protecting the integrity of our security procedures." As her first day drew to a close, Maria reflected on the unexpected challenges and successes she had experienced. She had proven to herself and others that she could perform her duties with excellence under pressure. More importantly, she had demonstrated the kind of character and integrity that would serve her well throughout her military career. The evening shift change brought a new perspective on her day's accomplishments. Several personnel made a point of stopping by the gate to acknowledge her professional performance, including some senior enlisted leaders who expressed appreciation for her commitment to standards. As Maria prepared to depart the base, she felt a deep sense of satisfaction despite the stress and uncertainty of the day. She had faced multiple tests of her resolve and had consistently chosen to do the right thing regardless of potential consequences. Her phone buzzed with a text message from her mother back in Texas. "How was your first day, Mija? I know you made your brother proud today." Maria smiled, thinking about how her brother would have reacted to the day's events. He had always told her that military service was about more than following orders or completing missions. It was about embodying values that made the organization stronger and the country safer. As she drove home to her small apartment near the base, Maria allowed herself to feel optimistic about her future at the Special Operations Facility. She had established a reputation for integrity and professionalism that would open doors and create opportunities for greater contributions to the mission. The challenges ahead would undoubtedly be significant, but Maria felt confident that she had the character and skills necessary to excel in whatever role she might be given. Her first day had taught her that excellence often meant making difficult choices, but those choices ultimately defined who she was as a sailor and as a person. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and opportunities, but tonight Maria could rest knowing that she had honored her brother's memory and upheld the standards that made the military a force for good in the world. 3 weeks into her assignment at the Naval Special Warfare Command, Maria Santos had established herself as the most thorough and professional gateguard the base had seen in recent memory. Her reputation for unwavering adherence to security protocols had spread throughout the installation, earning both respect and occasional frustration from personnel who preferred more flexible interpretations of regulations. The morning briefings had become more detailed since her arrival, with Chief Rodriguez incorporating her observations about potential security improvements into daily discussions. Maria had noticed patterns in traffic flow, identified potential vulnerabilities in visitor processing, and suggested modifications to screening procedures that enhanced both security and efficiency. Her small apartment had become a study center where Maria spent evenings researching military doctrine, security protocols, and leadership principles. She had enrolled in correspondence courses for advancement and was working toward qualifications that would prepare her for greater responsibilities. Her goal remained unchanged from the day she enlisted, to make meaningful contributions to national security while honoring her brother's sacrifice. The base routine had become familiar, but Maria never allowed herself to become complacent. Each day brought new challenges that required vigilance and professional judgment. She had learned to read people quickly, identifying potential problems before they escalated and maintaining situational awareness that impressed even veteran security personnel. On a foggy Tuesday morning in October, Maria noticed unusual activity around the base's administrative complex. Several unmarked vehicles had arrived before dawn, and personnel with different uniforms and equipment were moving between buildings with obvious urgency. This suggested either an important visit from higher headquarters or preparations for a significant operation. Chief Rodriguez confirmed her suspicions during the morning briefing. "We're expecting distinguished visitors today, including some very senior officers from SOCOM headquarters. Security protocols are elevated to condition Bravo, and all personnel need to maintain heightened awareness throughout the shift." Maria understood that condition Bravo represented a significant increase in security posture, requiring additional verification procedures and closer scrutiny of all personnel and vehicles. The timing suggested that important operational decisions were being made at levels far above her pay grade. The first indication of the day's significance came at 0630 hours when a convoy of military vehicles approached the gate with motorcycle escorts and obvious VIP protocols in effect. Maria had never processed such a high-level arrival, but her training had prepared her for exactly this type of situation. The lead security vehicle stopped at her position, and a Master Chief Petty Officer stepped out to coordinate the convoy's entry. Maria immediately recognized him as the type of senior enlisted leader who commanded respect through competence and experience rather than intimidation. "Petty Officer Santos," the Master Chief said, reading her name tape, "I'm Master Chief Thompson from the SOCOM Security Detail. We have a convoy of distinguished visitors requiring expedited but thorough processing. I'll need you to verify credentials for each vehicle while maintaining appropriate protocols for the security classification involved." Maria nodded, understanding that she was being tested on her ability to balance security requirements with operational necessities. The wrong approach could either compromise security or create unnecessary delays for important personnel. "Understood, Master Chief," Maria replied. "I'll process each vehicle according to elevated security protocols while maintaining appropriate efficiency for the convoy's requirements." The first vehicle contained a Navy admiral whose credentials were immediately recognizable as authentic and current. Maria completed her verification quickly but thoroughly, documenting the entry according to regulations while treating the admiral with appropriate military courtesy. The second vehicle presented a more complex challenge. The passenger was a civilian wearing an expensive suit and carrying credentials from a government agency that Maria had never encountered before. His identification appeared legitimate, but something about his demeanor triggered her instincts for caution. "Sir, may I see additional identification or documentation for your visit?" Maria requested politely. The civilian seemed annoyed by the delay. "Young lady, I don't have time for extensive paperwork. I'm here for critical meetings that affect national security, and these delays are counterproductive." Maria felt the familiar tension of balancing security requirements with pressure for expedited processing. But her experience with Captain Morrison had taught her that principles couldn't be compromised regardless of circumstances or personalities involved. "Sir, I understand the importance of your business here," Maria responded professionally. "However, current security protocols require additional verification for all civilian personnel regardless of their agency affiliation or meeting urgency." Master Chief Thompson approached to assess the situation, having observed the delay from his position with the convoy. Maria briefly explained her concerns about the civilian's credentials and her request for additional documentation. The Master Chief examined the civilian's identification and consulted a list of pre-authorized personnel. After several minutes of verification, he nodded to Maria with obvious approval for her cautious approach. "The gentleman is properly authorized," Thompson informed Maria. "But your request for additional verification was exactly the right procedure given the circumstances." "Well done, Petty Officer." As the convoy proceeded onto the base, Maria felt a familiar sense of satisfaction from handling a complex situation according to proper procedures. She was beginning to understand that her role involved much more than checking identification cards and monitoring traffic flow. Around 0900 hours, Chief Rodriguez approached with an unusual assignment. "Santos, I need you to escort a visitor to Building 7 for a meeting with the intelligence staff. This is a sensitive matter requiring discretion and professional handling." Building 7 housed the base's Intelligence Analysis Center, an area that Maria had never been authorized to enter despite her background in intelligence specialties. The assignment represented both an opportunity and a responsibility that she had not anticipated during her gate duty rotation. The visitor was a woman in her early 40s wearing civilian clothes but with the bearing of someone familiar with military culture. She introduced herself as Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a defense contractor specializing in counterintelligence analysis for special operations units. "Petty Officer Santos, I understand you have experience in intelligence analysis," Dr. Mitchell said as they walked toward Building 7. "Your supervisor mentioned that your background might be relevant to some projects we're discussing today." Maria was surprised that Chief Rodriguez had shared information about her qualifications with a civilian contractor, but she understood that such discussions might be necessary for operational purposes. "Yes, ma'am, I completed intelligence specialist training before my current assignment," Maria replied. "I maintain active security clearances and stay current with analytical methodologies through continuing education." Dr. Mitchell seemed genuinely interested in Maria's background and asked several questions about her training and experience during their brief walk. Maria provided professional responses while being careful not to discuss classified information or operational details. Building 7's interior was more sophisticated than Maria had expected, with multiple secure areas and obvious evidence of complex intelligence operations. The technology and equipment visible in common areas suggested capabilities far beyond typical military installations. The meeting room where Dr. Mitchell was scheduled contained several Navy officers and civilian contractors reviewing documents and computer displays. Maria was directed to wait in an adjacent area while maintaining security for Dr. Mitchell's visit. During the 2-hour wait, Maria observed a steady flow of personnel moving between different areas of the building. many carried classified materials in appropriate containers, and the level of security awareness was noticeably higher than other areas of the base. A Navy lieutenant commander approached Maria's position around 1,100 hours. Petty Officer Santos? I'm Lieutenant Commander Hayes from the Intelligence Division. Dr. Mitchell mentioned that you have analytical experience that might be relevant to some of our current projects. Maria straightened to attention, uncertain about the appropriate response to such an unexpected inquiry. Yes, sir. I completed intelligence analysis training and have maintained my qualifications through continuing education and professional development. Lieutenant Commander Hayes reviewed a folder that appeared to contain personnel records and security clearance documentation. His expression suggested that he was considering possibilities that Maria couldn't anticipate. Your background is interesting, Santos, Hayes said after several minutes. We've been looking for personnel with your specific combination of experience and security awareness. Would you be interested in discussing potential opportunities within our analytical team? Maria felt her heart rate increase as she realized that this conversation could represent the kind of assignment she had hoped for when she volunteered for the Special Operations Base. But she also understood the importance of maintaining proper channels and not appearing to abandon her current responsibilities. Sir, I would be very interested in discussing such opportunities, Maria replied. However, I want to ensure that any potential assignment changes are handled through appropriate channels and with the approval of my current supervisors. Hayes nodded approvingly. That's exactly the kind of professional approach we need in our organization. I'll discuss this with Chief Rodriguez and your chain of command to determine whether a temporary assignment might be beneficial for both your development and our operational requirements. When Dr. Mitchell's meeting concluded, Maria escorted her back to the main gate while processing the unexpected developments of the morning. The possibility of working in intelligence analysis again represented everything she had hoped for in her military career. Chief Rodriguez was waiting at the gate when Maria returned, and his expression suggested that he had already received communication about the morning's discussions. Santos, it seems your reputation for professionalism has opened some interesting doors. Want to tell me about your conversation with Lieutenant Commander Hayes? Maria provided a complete account of the interaction, emphasizing her desire to pursue opportunities while maintaining proper procedures and respect for her current assignment. She stressed that gate duty had been valuable experience and that she appreciated the trust Rodriguez had shown in her capabilities. You know, Santos, Rodriguez said after listening to her account, when I first heard about getting a female sailor for gate duty, I wasn't sure how it would work out. But you've proven that competence and character matter more than demographics. The intelligence folks have been asking for someone with your combination of skills and integrity. He paused, considering his next words carefully. I'm going to recommend you for a temporary assignment with the Intelligence Division. It's the kind of opportunity that could define your career, and you've earned the chance to show what you can do. Maria felt a wave of gratitude and excitement, but also some apprehension about leaving the security and familiarity of gate duty. Chief, I want to thank you for the opportunity and the trust you've shown in me. Gate duty taught me valuable lessons about attention to detail and professional standards that I'll carry forward regardless of my assignment. The afternoon brought a different perspective on her potential career change. Word of the intelligence assignment possibility had begun to spread, and Maria noticed varying reactions from her colleagues. Some expressed congratulations and support, while others seemed skeptical about her qualifications or suggested that favoritism might be involved. Maria understood that any significant assignment change would be scrutinized, particularly for a relatively junior sailor moving into a specialized role. She would need to prove herself again in a new environment while maintaining the professional standards that had earned her current recognition. Around 1,400 hours, Master Chief Thompson returned to the gate area and approached Maria's position. His presence suggested that the morning's convoy processing had been discussed at levels above her normal chain of command. "Petty Officer Santos," Thompson said, "I wanted to personally commend you for your performance this morning. Processing high-level convoys requires exactly the kind of professional judgment you demonstrated. Too many people either become overly rigid or excessively accommodating when dealing with senior personnel." Maria felt honored by recognition from such an obviously experienced leader. "Thank you, Master Chief. I tried to balance security requirements with operational necessities while maintaining appropriate protocols." Thompson nodded approvingly. "That's exactly the right approach. I understand you're being considered for intelligence assignments, and I want you to know that your performance today will be included in my report to higher headquarters. The special operations community needs people who can be trusted to do the right thing regardless of pressure or circumstances." As her gate duty shift concluded, Maria reflected on the day's unexpected developments. The possibility of intelligence work represented a significant step toward her long-term career goals, but she understood that success would require proving herself in an entirely new environment. The evening brought a phone call from her mother that provided perspective on the day's events. "Mija, your voice sounds different today. Something good happened?" Maria shared the news about potential intelligence assignments while being careful not to discuss classified aspects of her current duties. Her mother's pride and excitement reminded Maria of the support system that had sustained her throughout her military journey. "Your brother would be so proud to see how far you've come," her mother said. "He always said that opportunities come to those who are prepared to earn them." As Maria prepared for bed, she reviewed the events that had led from routine gate duty to potential intelligence assignments. Each challenge had built upon previous experiences, creating a foundation of competence and character that opened doors to greater responsibilities. The notification from Lieutenant Commander Hayes arrived by secure email that evening. "Petty Officer Santos, based on discussions with your chain of command and review of your qualifications, we would like to offer you a temporary assignment with our analytical team beginning next Monday. Please report to Building 7 at 0800 for orientation and initial briefings." Maria read the message 3 times before allowing herself to fully accept that the opportunity was real. The next phase of her career would begin in just 5 days, requiring preparation and mental adjustment for responsibilities she had long anticipated. Tomorrow would bring her final week of gate duty, a period she intended to use for ensuring smooth transition of her responsibilities while preparing for the analytical work ahead. The lessons learned from checking identification cards and maintaining security protocols would serve her well in evaluating intelligence data and supporting operational decisions. As she fell asleep, Maria's last thoughts were of her brother and the promise she had made to honor his sacrifice through exceptional service. The path forward was becoming clearer, and she felt ready to take the next step in fulfilling that commitment. Monday morning arrived with an unusual combination of fog and anticipation that seemed to mirror Maria's emotional state as she approached Building 7 for her first day with the intelligence analytical team. Her carefully pressed uniform bore the crisp appearance that had become her trademark, but she carried herself with the uncertain confidence of someone entering unfamiliar territory. Lieutenant Commander Hayes met her at the building's secure entrance, his professional demeanor suggesting that this assignment would be significantly different from gate duty. The security protocols for entering the intelligence facility were more complex than anything Maria had previously experienced, requiring multiple forms of authentication and acknowledgement of additional security obligations. "Welcome to the Analytical Division, Petty Officer Santos," Hayes said as they navigated through secure corridors lined with classified material containers and sophisticated communication equipment. "Your reputation for attention to detail and professional integrity preceded you here. We're looking forward to seeing how those qualities translate to intelligence analysis." The workspace assigned to Maria was a cubicle equipped with multiple computer monitors, secure communication devices, and reference materials covering various aspects of international security threats. The technology was more advanced than her previous analytical assignments, reflecting the specialized nature of supporting special operations missions. Your primary responsibility will be analyzing intelligence reports related to potential threats against naval special warfare operations, Hayes explained as he introduced Maria to her new environment. This involves synthesizing information from multiple sources, identifying patterns that might indicate enemy activities, and preparing briefings for operational commanders. Maria absorbed the briefing while noting the complexity of systems and procedures she would need to master. The work represented everything she had hoped for in terms of meaningful contribution to national security, but it also carried responsibilities that could directly impact the safety of military personnel in combat situations. Her first assignment involved reviewing intelligence reports from various international sources regarding suspected terrorist activities in maritime environments. The information was fragmentary and often contradictory, requiring careful analysis to separate reliable intelligence from speculation or deliberately planted misinformation. The process reminded Maria of solving complex puzzles where most pieces were missing and some might belong to entirely different pictures. Success required patience, methodical examination of available evidence, and willingness to acknowledge uncertainty when definitive conclusions weren't supported by facts. Around 1,000 hours, Maria was introduced to her analytical partner, Petty Officer First Class James Park, a veteran intelligence specialist with 6 years of experience supporting special operations missions. Park's background included deployments to multiple combat zones and extensive training in counterterrorism analysis. "Santos, I've heard about your performance at the gate," Park said with obvious approval. "That kind of attention to detail is exactly what we need in this work." Intelligence analysis requires the same commitment to proper procedures, but the consequences of mistakes can be much more serious. Maria appreciated Park's direct approach and his willingness to share insights about the analytical process. His experience provided valuable perspective on how intelligence products were used by operational commanders and the importance of accuracy in reporting and assessment. Their first collaborative project involved analyzing communication intercepts from suspected terrorist networks operating in Southeast Asia. The intercepts were in multiple languages and often used coded references that required cultural knowledge and pattern recognition to interpret effectively. "The key is looking for changes in normal patterns," Park explained as they reviewed the intercepted communications. "Terrorists try to maintain operational security, but they still need to coordinate activities. Our job is finding the signals within the noise." Maria found the work intellectually challenging and professionally satisfying in ways that gate duty, despite its importance, had not provided. Each piece of analyzed intelligence potentially contributed to protecting American forces and preventing terrorist attacks against civilian targets. The analytical process required skills that Maria had developed through military training but had never applied to such consequential situations. She needed to remain objective while processing information about people planning violence, maintain attention to detail while working under time pressure, and communicate findings clearly to decision-makers who would act on her assessments. Around 1,200 hours, Lieutenant Commander Hayes approached Maria's workspace with what appeared to be an urgent assignment. His expression suggested that this task involved more immediate operational relevance than the training projects she had been working on throughout the morning. "Santos, we just received intelligence about a potential threat to one of our forward operating bases," Hayes said, handing her a classified folder. "I need you to analyze the available information and prepare a threat assessment for the base commander within 2 hours." Maria felt the weight of responsibility as she accepted the assignment. This represented exactly the kind of work she had joined the Navy to perform, but it also meant that real people depending on accurate analysis for their safety and mission success. The intelligence package contained satellite imagery, communication intercepts, and human intelligence reports suggesting that hostile forces were planning an attack on a naval facility supporting special operations missions in a classified location overseas. The information was current but incomplete, requiring careful analysis to determine the credibility and specificity of the threat. Maria began by organizing the available information chronologically and, by source reliability, a methodology that Park had recommended for complex threat assessments. She created a timeline of suspicious activities and compared it with normal baseline patterns for the area in question. The satellite imagery showed unusual vehicle movements near the naval facility, including trucks and personnel concentrations that didn't match typical civilian activities for the region. The timing of these movements correlated with communication intercepts suggesting increased planning activities by known terrorist networks. However, the human intelligence reports came from sources with varying reliability ratings, and some of the information contradicted other elements of the intelligence package. Maria faced the challenging task of weighing conflicting evidence while acknowledging the limitations of available information. As she worked through the analysis, Maria found herself thinking about the naval personnel at the threatened facility. They were probably going about their daily routines, unaware that potential enemies might be planning attacks against them. Her analysis could influence decisions about their security and safety. Park periodically checked on her progress, offering guidance about analytical techniques and helping her navigate the sophisticated database systems used for intelligence correlation. His experience was invaluable for understanding how different types of intelligence could be combined to create more complete assessments. Remember, Santos, Park advised during one of these consultations, our job isn't to make operational decisions. Our responsibility is providing commanders with accurate, timely analysis that helps them make informed decisions about protecting their personnel and accomplishing their missions. At 1,330 hours, Maria completed her threat assessment and began preparing the briefing document that would be transmitted to the overseas base commander. The assessment concluded that available intelligence indicated a credible but not specific threat that warranted increased security measures and continued monitoring of suspicious activities. Lieutenant Commander Hayes reviewed Maria's work carefully, asking detailed questions about her analytical methodology and the reasoning behind her conclusions. His scrutiny was thorough but supportive, clearly intended to ensure accuracy rather than to find fault with her approach. "This is solid analytical work, Santos," Hayes said after completing his review. "You've appropriately weighted the available evidence, acknowledged uncertainties, and provided clear recommendations for action. The base commander will have the information needed to make informed security decisions." As the threat assessment was transmitted through secure channels, Maria felt a deep sense of accomplishment mixed with ongoing concern for the personnel who might be affected by the potential threat. Intelligence work involved a unique form of stress related to knowing about dangers that others faced while being unable to directly influence outcomes. The afternoon brought a different type of analytical challenge when Maria was assigned to support planning for a hypothetical special operations mission. This involved studying potential target areas, assessing enemy capabilities, and identifying factors that could affect mission success or failure. The planning process required Maria to think like both an intelligence analyst and an operational planner, considering how enemy forces might react to various American actions and what information would be most valuable for mission commanders. This type of analysis demanded creativity and strategic thinking beyond the pattern recognition skills used for threat assessment. Working with classified maps and intelligence databases, Maria examined the geography, infrastructure, and human terrain factors that could influence a special operations mission in the designated area. She identified potential landing zones, escape routes, and civilian population concentrations that could affect operational planning. The exercise also required Maria to assess enemy forces in the area, including their training levels, equipment capabilities, and likely response times to various types of intrusion. This analysis involved studying previous enemy actions and applying military doctrine to predict future behaviors. Around 1,500 hours, Maria received an unexpected visitor at her workspace. Master Chief Thompson, the senior enlisted leader she had met during convoy processing at the gate, approached with obvious purpose and a folder marked with high-level security classifications. "Petty Officer Santos," Thompson said, "I understand you've been making quite an impression in your new assignment. Your analytical work is getting attention at levels that might surprise you." Maria stood at attention, uncertain about the purpose of Thompson's visit but recognizing that it probably involved matters beyond her current understanding. The Master Chief's presence in the intelligence facility suggested connections between her work and higher-level operational planning. "I'm here because your threat assessment from this morning was exceptionally well done," Thompson continued. "The base commander specifically requested information about the analyst who prepared the report. Your work may have prevented casualties and protected critical operations." Maria felt a surge of pride and relief, understanding that her analysis had been validated by events and decision-makers with access to information beyond her clearance level. The confirmation that her work had operational value provided deep professional satisfaction. "Master Chief, I was just applying the analytical techniques I've learned and trying to provide accurate information for decision-makers," Maria replied. "I'm honored that the assessment was useful." Thompson smiled, recognizing the combination of competence and humility that had characterized Maria's performance since her arrival at the base. "Santos, what you did today represents exactly the kind of analytical work that makes special operations successful. You're going to have opportunities that most junior sailors never see." As Thompson departed, Maria reflected on the unexpected trajectory her career had taken since arriving for gate duty just 1 month earlier. Each challenge had built upon previous experiences, creating opportunities that she couldn't have anticipated but had prepared for through consistent professional performance. The remainder of the afternoon involved reviewing her analytical methods with Park and receiving feedback about areas for continued development. The Intelligence Division maintained high standards for professional growth, expecting personnel to continuously improve their skills and expand their knowledge of relevant subject areas. "You're adapting to this work faster than most people," Park observed as they concluded the day's activities. "Intelligence analysis requires a specific mindset that combines attention to detail with strategic thinking. You seem to have natural aptitude for both." Maria appreciated the positive feedback while understanding that her success was built on foundations of training, experience, and commitment to excellence that had been developing throughout her military career. The gate duty assignment had provided unexpected preparation for the patience and attention to detail required for intelligence work. As she prepared to leave Building 7, Maria received a secure message from Lieutenant Commander Hayes requesting her presence at a briefing the following morning. The message indicated that she would be meeting with personnel from other military services and government agencies for discussions about ongoing analytical projects. The drive home provided time for Maria to process the day's experiences and their implications for her future career development. Intelligence analysis represented exactly the kind of meaningful work she had hoped to perform, but it also carried responsibilities and pressures that would require continued growth and adaptation. Her evening routine included studying analytical methodologies and regional security issues that might affect future assignments. Maria had learned that success in intelligence work required continuous education and awareness of international developments that could influence American security interests. The phone call from her mother that evening provided perspective and emotional support after an intense first day in her new assignment. "Mija, you sound tired but happy. I can tell this new job is what you've been working toward." Maria shared appropriate details about her transition to intelligence work while being careful to respect classification requirements. Her mother's pride and encouragement reinforced her sense that she was following the right path and honoring her brother's memory through service. As she prepared for bed, Maria reviewed the events that had led from gate duty to intelligence analysis in just 1 month. The progression seemed almost surreal, but each step had been earned through performance and professionalism that created opportunities for greater responsibilities. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and the possibility of working with personnel from other agencies on projects she couldn't yet imagine. But, tonight, Maria could rest with the satisfaction of knowing that her work had potentially contributed to protecting American forces and advancing national security interests. The last message she read before sleep was an email from Chief Rodriguez. Santos, heard about your outstanding work in intelligence. You've made the Gate Duty team proud, and we'll be following your career with interest. Keep setting the standard for what right looks like. Maria smiled, understanding that her success reflected not just her own efforts but also the support and mentorship she had received from leaders who believed in developing their personnel. The foundation built during Gate Duty would serve her well in whatever analytical challenges lay ahead. The briefing room in Building 7 buzzed with an intensity that Maria had never experienced during her previous military assignments. Representatives from the CIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, and several other government organizations sat alongside Navy SEAL commanders and Marine Corps Special Operations personnel, their collective focus directed toward intelligence assessments that would influence high-stakes operational decisions. Maria entered the room at precisely 0800 hours, carrying classified materials and feeling the weight of responsibility that came with participating in strategic-level planning discussions. Lieutenant Commander Hayes had briefed her about the meeting's purpose, evaluating intelligence related to a developing threat situation that could require immediate military response. Ladies and gentlemen, began Captain Sarah Williams, the senior officer present, we're here to assess intelligence regarding suspected weapons transfers to terrorist organizations operating in the Indo-Pacific region. Recent intercepts suggest that advanced weapons systems may be moving through maritime channels toward groups capable of threatening both military and civilian targets. Maria took careful notes as the briefing continued, understanding that her analytical work from the previous week had contributed to the intelligence picture being presented. The threat assessment she had prepared regarding the naval facility had been part of a larger pattern of suspicious activities across multiple geographic areas. The CIA representative, a woman in her 50s with obvious experience in operational planning, presented satellite imagery showing suspicious cargo transfers at several ports throughout Southeast Asia. The timing and methods of these transfers suggested coordination between different criminal and terrorist networks. Our human intelligence sources indicate that these weapons shipments include advanced anti-ship missiles and sophisticated communication equipment, the CIA analyst reported. If these reports are accurate, terrorist organizations would gain capabilities that could threaten naval operations throughout the region. Maria found herself analyzing the presented information through methodologies she had developed during her brief tenure with the Intelligence Division. The patterns were concerning, but she also noticed gaps and inconsistencies that suggested either incomplete intelligence or deliberate deception by adversary organizations. During a brief break in the presentations, Lieutenant Commander Hayes approached Maria's position. Santos, I want you to pay particular attention to the next presentation. We may ask for your assessment of the intelligence reliability based on your recent analytical work. The next briefer was a Navy SEAL commander whose presence commanded immediate respect from everyone in the room. Commander Michael Torres carried himself with the quiet confidence of someone who had led personnel through dangerous situations and understood the consequences of intelligence failures. Based on the intelligence we've reviewed, Commander Torres began, my teams are being tasked with reconnaissance missions to verify the presence and nature of suspected weapons shipments. The success of these operations depends entirely on the accuracy of our intelligence assessments. Maria felt the gravity of the situation intensify as she realized that her analytical work could influence decisions about sending special operations personnel into potentially hostile environments. The abstract nature of intelligence analysis suddenly became very concrete when connected to specific missions and real people. Commander Torres continued his briefing with detailed operational considerations, including insertion methods, reconnaissance objectives, and contingency plans for various scenarios his teams might encounter. His presentation demonstrated the direct connection between intelligence analysis and tactical execution. I need to emphasize, Torres said, looking directly at the intelligence personnel present, that the quality of analytical work directly affects the safety of my operators and the success of our missions. Accurate intelligence saves lives and accomplishes objectives. Flawed analysis can have catastrophic consequences. After the formal presentations concluded, Captain Williams organized breakout sessions where intelligence analysts would work directly with operational commanders to refine mission planning based on available information. Maria was assigned to work with Commander Torres and his planning team to assess intelligence related to specific target locations. The working session took place in a secure conference room equipped with large displays showing detailed maps and reconnaissance imagery of suspected weapons transfer sites. Commander Torres and 2 senior enlisted SEALs reviewed the intelligence materials with obvious expertise in operational planning. Petty Officer Santos, Commander Torres said, "I understand you prepared the threat assessment that first identified patterns in this weapons transfer network. I'd like you to walk us through your analytical process and explain how you reached your conclusions." Maria felt both honored and nervous as she prepared to brief personnel whose operational experience far exceeded her own. But she understood that her analytical perspective provided value that complemented their tactical expertise. "Sir, I began by examining communication intercepts for changes in normal patterns of activity," Maria explained, using displays to illustrate her methodology. The frequency and timing of communications between suspected network members showed significant increases during periods that correlated with reported weapons movements. Commander Torres asked detailed questions about her source evaluation procedures and the reliability ratings she had assigned to different intelligence elements. His questions demonstrated sophisticated understanding of how intelligence analysis connected to operational planning. "Your assessment of source reliability was particularly valuable," Torres noted. "Many analysts either accept information uncritically or dismiss sources too readily. You appropriately weighted different types of intelligence while acknowledging limitations in available information." The planning session continued for 3 hours, with Maria providing analytical support while learning about operational considerations that she had never previously understood. The SEALs discussed infiltration techniques, surveillance methods, and communication protocols with casual expertise that reminded her of the specialized nature of their profession. Master Chief Petty Officer David Rodriguez, Commander Torres's senior enlisted advisor, contributed operational insights that helped bridge the gap between intelligence assessments and tactical execution. His experience included multiple deployments and extensive training in reconnaissance operations. "Ma'am," Rodriguez addressed Maria, "your intelligence work provides the foundation for everything we do operationally. The better your analysis, the more effective our missions become. But we also need analysts who understand how their products get used in the field." Maria appreciated the opportunity to learn about operational applications of intelligence work, understanding that this knowledge would improve her future analytical products. The connection between her cubicle in Building 7 and operations in distant combat zones was becoming much clearer. Around 1,200 hours, the planning session was interrupted by an urgent communication from higher headquarters. A secure message indicated that time-sensitive intelligence had been received that could affect the reconnaissance missions being planned. Captain Williams reconvened the full briefing group to review the new intelligence, which included communication intercepts suggesting that suspected weapons transfers might occur much sooner than previously anticipated. This development compressed the timeline for operational planning and execution. "Ladies and gentlemen," Captain Williams announced, "we may need to accelerate our response timeline based on this new intelligence. I need rapid assessment of the credibility and implications of these intercepts." Maria was assigned to work with Park and 2 other analysts to evaluate the new communication intercepts using expedited procedures that balanced thoroughness with time constraints. The pressure was intense, but the analytical process remained methodical and evidence-based. The intercepts contained coded references that required cultural knowledge and pattern analysis to interpret effectively. Maria applied techniques she had learned during previous assignments while collaborating with colleagues who brought different expertise to the evaluation process. These communications show increased urgency in planning activities, Maria observed as the team reviewed translated intercepts. The timing references suggest that major activities could occur within days rather than weeks. Park concurred with Maria's assessment while adding insights about the communication methods being used. The shift to more secure communication channels indicates that they're moving from planning to execution phases of their operations. Within 90 minutes, the analytical team had prepared an assessment concluding that the new intelligence was credible and indicated significantly compressed timelines for weapons transfer activities. This assessment was immediately transmitted to operational commanders for incorporation into mission planning. Commander Torres approached Maria as the briefing session concluded. "Santos, your analytical work today demonstrated exactly the kind of rapid, accurate assessment that special operations requires. You've shown ability to work under pressure while maintaining analytical rigor." Maria felt deep professional satisfaction from Torres's recognition, understanding that approval from operational commanders represented validation of her transition from gate duty to meaningful intelligence work. "Sir, I appreciate the opportunity to support operational planning," Maria replied. "Working directly with operational personnel helps me understand how intelligence products are used and how to make them more effective." Torres nodded approvingly. That understanding is what separates good analysts from exceptional ones. You're demonstrating potential for advancement to positions with greater responsibility and impact. The afternoon brought individual meetings with senior leaders who were evaluating Maria's potential for additional responsibilities within the intelligence community. These discussions covered her background, career objectives, and interest in specialized training opportunities. Captain Williams conducted the most significant of these meetings, reviewing Maria's personnel file and discussing her rapid progression from gate duty to strategic intelligence work. The captain's questions covered both technical competencies and leadership potential. "Santos, your performance over the past month has been exceptional," Williams observed. "You've demonstrated analytical skills, professional judgment, and adaptability that suggest potential for advancement beyond your current grade and responsibilities." Maria appreciated the positive evaluation while understanding that greater opportunities would also bring increased expectations and responsibilities. "Ma'am, I'm committed to continued learning and professional development to serve effectively in whatever capacity the Navy needs." Williams discussed potential assignments that could include advanced analytical training, liaison positions with other agencies, or operational support roles requiring deployment to overseas locations. Each possibility represented significant advancement opportunities with corresponding challenges. "I'm recommending you for the Navy's Advanced Intelligence Analyst Program," Williams announced. This is a highly selective program that prepares personnel for senior analytical positions throughout the intelligence community. Maria felt excitement mixed with apprehension as she considered the implications of such an opportunity. Advanced training would provide capabilities for greater contributions to national security, but it would also mean leaving the familiar environment where she had established herself professionally. As the day concluded, Maria reflected on the dramatic changes that had occurred since her arrival for gate duty just 5 weeks earlier. Each challenge had built upon previous experiences, creating a trajectory that exceeded her most optimistic expectations. The secure message waiting in her inbox provided the next milestone in her rapidly evolving career. "Petty Officer Santos, report to the Naval Intelligence School in Norfolk, Virginia, on November 15 for advanced analytical training. Duration, 6 months. Orders and travel arrangements will follow." Maria read the message 3 times before fully accepting that she was being sent to one of the Navy's most prestigious intelligence training programs. The opportunity represented everything she had worked toward since enlisting, but it also meant leaving the base and colleagues who had supported her development. Lieutenant Commander Hayes stopped by her workspace as she prepared to secure classified materials for the day. Santos, I heard about your selection for advanced training. That's an outstanding opportunity and well-deserved recognition for your performance. Maria expressed appreciation for the support and mentorship she had received from Hayes and the entire analytical team. Their guidance had been essential for her successful transition from gate duty to intelligence work. Remember, Hayes advised, advanced training is just the beginning. The Navy is investing in your development because they see potential for significant contributions to national security. Make the most of every opportunity to learn and grow. As Maria drove home that evening, she thought about calling her mother to share the news about advanced training. The conversation would need to be carefully managed to respect security requirements while conveying the significance of the opportunity. The phone call that evening brought excitement and pride from her mother, along with emotional recognition of how far Maria had progressed in honoring her brother's memory through military service. Mija, I know your brother is watching over you and celebrating your success. Maria felt the truth of those words as she prepared for bed, understanding that her journey from gate duty to advanced intelligence training represented just the beginning of a career dedicated to serving something greater than herself. Tomorrow would bring final preparations for her departure to Norfolk and advanced training that would prepare her for intelligence responsibilities she could barely imagine. But, tonight, she could rest with satisfaction knowing that every challenge had been met with professionalism and integrity that honored both her brother's sacrifice and her own commitment to excellence. The last message she read before sleep was from Commander Torres. Santos, your analytical work made a real difference today. Special operations personnel are safer because of your professionalism and skill. Keep setting the standard for what right looks like. Maria smiled, understanding that she had found her place in the military and her path for making meaningful contributions to national security through intelligence work that supported the most challenging and important missions her country undertook. Norfolk, Virginia, in November carried the crisp promise of winter and the weight of naval tradition that surrounded every building at the Naval Intelligence School. Maria Santos stood at attention in the historic headquarters building, surrounded by 42 other carefully selected personnel from across the military services who represented the finest analytical minds their respective branches could offer. The Advanced Intelligence Analysis Program demanded 6 months of intensive training that would transform competent analysts into strategic thinkers capable of supporting the most sensitive and complex national security operations. Maria's acceptance into this elite program represented validation of her rapid progression from gate duty to strategic intelligence work. Captain Jennifer Morrison, the school's commanding officer, addressed the assembled students with the gravity appropriate for personnel being prepared to influence decisions at the highest levels of government. Her credentials included multiple combat deployments and senior analytical positions throughout the intelligence community. You are here because your services have identified you as possessing exceptional potential for analytical work that will affect national security at strategic levels, Captain Morrison began. This program will challenge your assumptions, expand your capabilities, and prepare you for responsibilities that few military personnel ever experience. Maria absorbed the briefing while noting the diverse backgrounds of her fellow students. The group included personnel from Navy SEAL teams, Army Special Forces, Air Force intelligence squadrons, and Marine Corps reconnaissance units. Several were officers with advanced degrees, while others were senior enlisted personnel with extensive operational experience. The curriculum outlined during orientation exceeded anything Maria had previously encountered in military education. Advanced analytical methodologies, strategic intelligence assessment, multi-source intelligence fusion, counterintelligence analysis, and operational planning support represented just the foundation courses for the 6-month program. Your first assignment, announced Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Chen, the program's academic director, involves analyzing a complex international crisis scenario using real intelligence from recent operations. You'll work in teams that combine different service perspectives to develop comprehensive analytical products for senior decision-makers. Maria found herself assigned to a team that included a Marine Corps intelligence officer with combat experience in 3 different theaters, an Air Force captain with advanced technical training, and a Navy SEAL petty officer whose operational background complemented her analytical skills. The team leader was Major Rebecca Thompson, an Army intelligence officer with master's degrees in international relations and strategic studies. Thompson's experience included analytical assignments at the Pentagon and operational deployments supporting special operations throughout the Middle East and Central Asia. Our scenario involves a developing crisis in Southeast Asia where multiple adversary groups are cooperating to threaten American interests and regional stability, Thompson briefed the team during their initial planning session. We need to analyze the threat, assess enemy capabilities and intentions, and provide recommendations for policy responses. The scenario was based on actual intelligence from recent operations, with names and specific locations modified to protect ongoing activities. Maria recognized elements from her previous analytical work, understanding that classroom exercises were grounded in real-world challenges facing the intelligence community. The analytical process required integrating information from human intelligence sources, signals intelligence intercepts, imagery analysis, and open-source research into comprehensive assessments that addressed both immediate threats and long-term strategic implications. Maria's team spent 3 weeks developing their analysis, working 12-hour days and collaborating with subject matter experts from various government agencies. The intensity exceeded anything she had experienced during previous training, but the intellectual challenge was deeply satisfying. Santos, your background in tactical intelligence analysis provides valuable perspective for strategic assessment, Major Thompson observed during one of their working sessions. You understand how strategic decisions affect operational personnel, which helps create more realistic and useful analytical products. The team's final briefing was presented to a panel of senior officers and civilian officials who evaluated both the analytical content and the presentation quality. Maria felt nervous but confident as she prepared to present her team's assessment of enemy capabilities and recommended response options. Our analysis concludes that adversary groups have achieved unprecedented cooperation levels that significantly increase their threat potential, Maria reported during her portion of the briefing. However, this cooperation also creates vulnerabilities that could be exploited through coordinated diplomatic, economic, and military responses. The panel's questions were sophisticated and challenging, requiring detailed knowledge of the intelligence sources and analytical methodologies used to develop the team's conclusions. Maria found herself drawing on experiences from gate duty, tactical intelligence analysis, and strategic planning to provide comprehensive answers. Colonel William Hayes, the senior evaluator, commended the team's work while providing feedback for continued development. Your analysis demonstrates solid understanding of analytical principles and appropriate integration of multiple intelligence sources. The recommendations are realistic and well supported by available evidence. December brought more advanced coursework that included crisis simulation exercises where students worked around the clock to provide analytical support for rapidly evolving scenarios. These exercises replicated the pressure and time constraints of real-world crisis response while testing students' ability to maintain analytical rigor under extreme stress. Maria's performance during crisis simulations earned recognition from instructors and peers who noted her ability to remain calm and methodical while working under intense pressure. Her experience with time-sensitive threat assessments at the Special Operations Base had prepared her well for the fast-paced analytical work required during simulated crises. Santos shows exceptional potential for crisis analytical work, noted Commander David Park in his evaluation. She maintains attention to detail and analytical objectivity even when working under extreme time pressure and with incomplete information. The mid-program evaluation included individual meetings with senior faculty members who assessed each student's progress and provided guidance for the remaining coursework. Maria's session with Captain Morrison covered both her academic performance and potential career assignments after program completion. Your analytical work has been consistently excellent, and your leadership potential is becoming apparent, Morrison observed. We're considering several possible assignments that would utilize your skills while providing opportunities for continued professional development. The potential assignments included positions at the Pentagon supporting senior leadership, liaison roles with other government agencies, and operational assignments supporting special operations units in overseas locations. Each represented significant advancement opportunities with corresponding responsibilities. January brought the program's most challenging phase, independent research projects where students conducted original analysis on topics relevant to current national security concerns. Maria chose to examine intelligence challenges related to maritime terrorism threats, building on her previous work while developing new analytical approaches. The research project required 6 weeks of intensive work using classified databases and coordination with subject matter experts from across the intelligence community. Maria's analysis examined how terrorist organizations were adapting their tactics to exploit vulnerabilities in maritime security systems. Her research methodology involved statistical analysis of attack patterns, case study examination of successful interdiction operations, and assessment of emerging technologies that could affect future threat scenarios. The complexity required mastery of analytical tools and techniques that exceeded anything she had previously used. Maria's research demonstrates graduate-level analytical thinking and original insights that contribute meaningfully to understanding current threat environments, noted Dr. Elizabeth Chen, the civilian academic advisor overseeing independent research projects. February brought news that would define the next phase of Maria's career. Captain Morrison summoned her for a private meeting that would reveal assignment options based on her program performance and the Navy's assessment of where her skills could make the greatest contribution. "Santos, your performance in this program has been exceptional," Morrison began. "You've demonstrated analytical excellence, leadership potential, and adaptability that qualify you for assignments typically reserved for personnel with much greater experience." The assignment options included a position at the Pentagon supporting the Chief of Naval Operations, a liaison role with the CIA's Counterterrorism Center, and an operational assignment supporting a SEAL team preparing for deployment to a classified location. Each option represented a dramatic advancement from gate duty just 8 months earlier, but the operational assignment particularly appealed to Maria's desire to support personnel who faced direct danger while serving national security interests. "I'm most interested in the operational assignment, ma'am," Maria told Morrison. "My goal has always been supporting personnel in combat situations, and I believe my skills would be most valuable in that environment." Morrison nodded approvingly. "That assignment would place you with SEAL Team 7 as their senior intelligence analyst. It's a position typically held by officers or very senior enlisted personnel, but your performance suggests you're ready for that level of responsibility." The final month of the program involved advanced coursework specifically designed to prepare students for their follow-on assignments. Maria's track focused on operational intelligence support, including direct liaison with combat units and real-time analytical support during missions. The training included classified briefings about current operations, advanced communication procedures for deployed environments, and crisis management techniques for situations where analytical support could mean the difference between mission success and catastrophic failure. Commander Michael Torres, the SEAL officer she had worked with during strategic planning, visited the school to discuss operational requirements for intelligence support. His presence reinforced the connection between classroom learning and real-world applications. "Santos, I specifically requested you for this assignment," Torres revealed during a private conversation. "Your analytical work directly contributed to successful operations, and my team needs someone with your combination of skills and professional judgment." March brought graduation ceremonies that recognized the completion of one of the military's most demanding analytical programs. Maria's family traveled from Texas to attend, including her mother who had never seen a military installation of this magnitude and prestige. The ceremony included recognition for academic excellence, with Maria receiving awards for outstanding analytical performance and leadership potential. Her success represented not just personal achievement but validation of the opportunity the Navy had provided for advancement based on merit and performance. Distinguished graduates, Captain Morrison addressed the assembled students and their families. You represent the finest analytical minds our military services can develop. Your future assignments will place you at the center of decisions that affect national security and the safety of personnel serving around the world. As Maria accepted her graduation certificate and advancement to Petty Officer First Class, she thought about the improbable journey from gate duty to strategic intelligence analyst. Each challenge had built upon previous experiences, creating opportunities that exceeded her most ambitious expectations. Commander Torres approached after the ceremony to discuss her upcoming assignment with SEAL Team 7. Santos, you'll be deploying with us in 6 weeks to support operations in a challenging environment. Your analytical skills will be essential for mission success and personnel safety. The deployment would take her to a location she couldn't discuss with family or friends, supporting operations she could never describe in detail. But Maria understood that this assignment represented exactly what she had hoped to achieve when she decided to honor her brother's memory through military service. Her mother's pride was evident as they toured the Naval Intelligence School facilities after graduation. Mija, I never imagined when you left for the military that you would achieve something like this. Your brother would be so proud to see what you've accomplished. Maria felt the truth of those words as she prepared for the next phase of her career. The path from gate duty to strategic intelligence analyst had required perseverance through challenges she couldn't have anticipated, but each obstacle had been overcome through professional performance and commitment to excellence. The final evening in Norfolk provided time for reflection on the transformation that had occurred during 6 months of intensive training. Maria had entered the program as a competent analyst with potential. She was leaving as a strategic thinker prepared to support some of the military's most sensitive and important missions. Tomorrow would bring travel to California for final preparations before deployment with SEAL Team 7. The assignment represented both the culmination of her journey from gate duty and the beginning of a new chapter in service to national security interests. As Maria packed her belongings for the cross-country move, she included the small American flag that had accompanied her brother during his deployments. The flag would serve as a reminder of the values that had guided her from checking identification cards at a gate to preparing for deployment in support of America's most elite warriors. Her last act before departing Norfolk was writing a letter to Chief Rodriguez at the Special Operations Base where her career transformation had begun. Chief, I wanted you to know that the foundation you helped me build during gate duty has supported every success since then. Thank you for believing in my potential and holding me to the standards that made everything else possible. The reply came quickly, Santos, watching your career develop has been one of the most rewarding experiences of my military service. You've proven that excellence knows no boundaries when combined with character and determination. Make us proud out there. As her flight departed Norfolk for California, Maria looked down at the naval installations below and thought about all the personnel serving in various capacities throughout the military. From gate guards to strategic analysts to combat operators, everyone played essential roles in protecting American interests and values. Her journey from gate duty to SEAL Team analyst represented just one example of how the military developed talent and provided opportunities for those willing to earn them through dedication and performance. The story would continue with new challenges and responsibilities, but the foundation remained the same: commitment to excellence in service of something greater than oneself. The aircraft climbed through evening clouds toward California and the next chapter of a career that had already exceeded every expectation and dream she had harbored when first reporting for duty at the gate of a naval special warfare base 8 months earlier.